Hello and welcome to The Menu, Monocle Radio's food and drink programme. I'm your host, Chiara Rimella. Coming up, we journey down the banks of the Danube to get a taste of Eastern European cuisine.
Cuisine is such a wonderful way to discover a country's culture and their people, their customs. You also get to cook from it. You don't have to travel, so you cook from a book and you already experience the local flavours.
Also on the programme, we try out a fresh take on Turkish in London.
So they have like this very 100 years old stone wood-fired kind of oven, and they're just making pides, and they're like blow your mind amazing, but that's all they do all day long.
Plus, we explore the revival of the Green Fairy and its potent effects. All that here on A Menu on Monocle Radio. Flowing through numerous countries of Eastern Europe, the Danube traverses many different traditions, cultures, and of course, cuisines. But dishes, ingredients, and influences have also travelled across its banks, creating a unique blend that speaks of a region with a multifaceted history and identity. Award-winning Romanian food writer Irina Georgescu has written a series of books on her homeland's recipes, but for her latest, Danube, she's decided to chart the course of this river and celebrate the meeting point between Romanian, Serbian and Bulgarian traditions, and how Tatar and Turkish influences shaped this area too. Earlier, I spoke to Irina to find out more about the specialties of the region, hear the stories of these lush valleys, and learn more about her homeland's culinary makeup.
I take you on a journey along the Danube riverbanks. So it's about the lands of the Danube, not necessarily the river. And the Danube is important in Romania and in Eastern Europe because, especially on this side of Eastern Europe, because it's the border between Romania and Serbia and Bulgaria. So that is my opportunity to talk about three countries and not only Romania, although I am from Romania. So I put most of the dishes from Romanian cuisine, but also the ones that you can find in Bulgaria or you can find in Serbia. There are similar culinary traditions that I talk about in the book. So the Danube is influencing southern Romania quite a lot. And it's also border between the Balkans and Eastern Europe. So north of the Danube is Eastern Europe, south of the Danube is the Balkans. However, southern Romania has a kind of Balkanic feel. So we are influenced by the Balkans culture. And historically, we were influenced by the Ottoman Empire because we were not part of the Ottoman Empire like Bulgaria, south of the Danube, but we didn't have autonomy 100% over the southern Romania and eastern Romania. So crossing the river into Romania, you wouldn't have been in the Ottoman Empire, but we were profoundly influenced politically and culturally by the Ottomans. The Danube flows into the Black Sea and forms this beautiful Danube Delta, which is a UNESCO site. And, it's full of, some people think it's like the Amazon Delta in terms of the diversity, how many types of birds and flowers and, that all that flora and fauna that you find there. So it's an incredible story and a landscape. And therefore, I focus on the people along the Danube, which means on the lands along the Danube. So from when it enters Romania in the west to where it flows in the east, possibly 1,000 miles later into the Black Sea. And we look at different ethnic communities as well in Romania and then across the river in Bulgaria and in Serbia. And I'll take you through their dishes as well. So it's quite an interesting story of ethnic groups and ethnic diversity in these borderlands.
Well, it's very interesting because, as you say, so much cross-influence through the borders and through the cuisines. And also some, I think, dispelling of myths in the sense that when you say, there is a lot of influence from Balkan cuisine, I think plenty of people think of Balkan cuisine as quite meat-heavy, but there are chapters and chapters in your book dedicated to vegetables and how prominent they actually are in southern Romanian cooking and in Balkan cooking. So can you tell us why do you think there is so much of a misconception into how meat-heavy the cuisine of these places is and how actually celebratory of vegetables it can be, and it certainly is in your book?
That is the purpose of my book, basically. I wanted to focus on a cuisine that people have at home. So I say from the very beginning in the book that people will find out, my readers will find out how people cook at home and not in restaurants. So I think the myth of the Balkan and Eastern European cuisine being meat heavy is the fact that when you go to traditional restaurants, the menus are full of meaty dishes. And that's a reason. The reason is that perhaps we only put celebratory dishes on those menus. So like sarmale, like a lot of meat dishes. They used to be celebratory dishes like Christmas, Easter, or special occasions. So you will find that menu in restaurants. But then when people cook at home, they don't cook like this. They cook more with more vegetables, and they are influenced by the religious calendar as well. So that's the cuisine I put in the book. I do have a chapter in the book with meat dishes and also a chapter with fish, because I couldn't have written a book about a river without putting fish in the book. But most of the recipes are with vegetables, and I have vegan recipes and cheese recipes as well, especially when I talk about Bulgarian culture. So there is a bit for everybody in there. And also all the recipes are very quick to make, so it doesn't take a long time. I have a few there that you can actually have like a weekend project if you like. But the rest of the recipes are for everyday cooking, because this is how people cook at home.
It's very homely. It's very approachable. There are lots of people also in your book. It opens with these joyful pictures of you with women around a table, kind of sharing food, cooking together. How did you meet these people? And what did they teach you that perhaps you didn't know already about the cuisine of your homeland?
It's a journey of discovery. Every time I go and research something, then I find out something more, something new. I traveled from the west to the east of Romania. So in the west, let's say in the south, I looked at ethnic groups that form the Romanian culture and also their dishes that form the Romanian cuisine. I should perhaps mention the fact that Romania has 20 ethnic groups registered officially. So there are quite big, large ethnic groups in the country, different in the north and in the south, of course. So I wanted to explore the ethnic groups in the south, the ones that form Romanian nation. But also because of the Danube, you will find Bulgarians, for instance, on our side of the river in Romania, Bulgarian communities. And then crossing the river, you obviously find some Romanians in Bulgaria and so on in Serbia as well. So if you start from the west, from where the river enters Romania, Porțile de Fier we'll call them, and Kazanele Dunării as well, you will find Serbian ethnic groups over there. So I looked at what they eat, I looked at their culinary traditions. I found out they actually have a fig festival. I didn't know about that. They have this speciality in August when you pick the figs. They make a lot of jams, dulceață we call it, which is a bit different than a jam. So they make dulceață, they make fig brandy, they make a lot of fig products. And then they have a festival at the end of August when all the communities unite in one big festival. And you can go there and eat cake, drink brandy, buy things from there with figs. So I wanted to show that this tradition in the books. And I think you see the photographs, the figs and all that, because we were able to photograph some of the figs, although we were in Romania after the harvest. So I learned a lot about their also, again, religious calendar, the prasnik, the saint of the house, the way they celebrate together as a family, the protector saint of the house. And I chose the bread they make for this particular day. So I tell the story about this fantastic bread that when they serve it, every member of the family holds a little bit of the bread and then they tear it apart together at the same time. So it's a wonderful gesture to unite and to reconfirm the bonds of a family. So I looked at those traditions. And then traveling east from this journey, I talk about a region of Romania that is less known than Transylvania, because everybody knows about Transylvania. But we have so many other regions that are as beautiful, but nobody knows about them. So this region is from where my grandfather, my mom's dad, was from. It's called Oltenia. So Oltenia has this amazing way with vegetables. They cook them really quickly on the fire, or, I made the recipes to be able to cook them in an oven, but in Oltenia, you cook them really quickly. The Oltenians have a really fiery temperament. I mean, there are so many jokes about this in Romania. And I talk about this in the book, and also because my grandfather was from there, and I think I have some of that temperament as well. So I recognize that in my book. But there is also a very important tradition there in Oltenia, the way we bake bread. It's like in the Roman Empire, the Roman bread in the Pompeii. We still bake it like that, if you can imagine. So we still have that ceramic cloche that we put on top of the ash bread to bake it. And it's a fantastic tradition that was introduced by the Roman Empire, because that's also something that I mentioned in the book. If Transylvania is dominated by the Habsburg Empire and German communities, you cross the Carpathian mountains into the south of Romania, and along the Danube, you find the Roman Empire. It's everywhere, and the Ottoman Empire later. But initially, we had Greek colonies, and then the Roman Empire conquered the southern Romania. And we have so many vestiges from the Roman Empire. And in the culinary world, we have this way of baking bread, which was perhaps the first mobile oven ever, because you took the cloche and moved it on another field if you needed to bake bread further down the river. So it's a fantastic story.
Ever since you started writing about Romanian food, have you noticed a shift in perception around Europe in terms of restaurants, or even just the way that you talked about it and that people have been interacting with you about it?
Yes, bit by bit. It's a slow progress. And I change perception really slowly, and other people like me. Social media is very important, and media, like you, radio and print, they're all very important in promoting this area and talking about it in a positive light, because there is so much that we can talk about. So not necessarily bad news that can make the headlines. And cuisine is such a wonderful way to discover a country's culture and their people, their customs. You also get to cook from it. You don't have to travel. So you cook from a book, and you already experience the local flavors and the story as well. So it is slow progress. It's also, the tourism has increased in Romania, especially in Transylvania, because it's, as I said, more well known than other regions. But through my work and through people, through the groups I take to Transylvania, then they ask me, do you do another tour somewhere else? So possibly I will, because the Danube is so intriguing, and there are so many bridges across the Danube. So we can cross the border into Bulgaria and explore a little bit there, or into Serbia. So it will just open up the country, and the perceptions again, they will be changed in terms of what to expect. And like you said Eastern Europe, the Balkans, a lot of meat. Well, you will see, if you travel there, that is not going to be quite like that.
That was Irina Georgescu. This is The Menu. London has a solid tradition when it comes to Turkish eateries, particularly nestled in some of its northern boroughs, but the city is welcoming a new wave of chefs, bringing a modern take to the cuisine. Located in the city of London at the bottom of Ennismore's New Hyde Hotel, Leydi has all of the Turkish classics, think borek, chicken shish and plenty of lahmacun, but presents them in a way that feels refined and elegant too. In a nod to Istanbul's Lokanta-style all-day eateries, Leydi will serve breakfast, lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Seated in its pale pink interiors, Monocle's Paige Reynolds caught up with Leydi's creator Selin Kazim and its head chef, the Astana-born Halil Şimşek, to talk about their vision for the space.
I'm Selin Kazim. Here we are at Leydi, our brand new restaurant in the city. I am the creator of the menu here, I put together the menu, designed all the recipes, and have entrusted my good friend next to me to carry it out.
Hi, it's Halil Şimşek. I'm the head chef of the Leydi restaurant, and then I'm sitting next to the chef Selin. Always, I love that. And yeah, that's all.
You don't have to say that. Talking up the boss.
It's the second day Leydi has been open to the public, but for founder Celine Chiasm, it's not her first rodeo. Her career began in the early 2000s with her first independent venture, the vibrant and much-loved Turkish Cypriot-inspired baklava, opening in 2015. But all good things come to an end, and when baklava's time was up in 2020, uber-cool hotel group Ennismore entered the picture. A few years down the line, Leydi was born. The focus this time is to embody the iconic old-school all-day eateries of Istanbul.
Istanbul for me is a real melting pot. It's there's many different sort of cultures there as well, but it's just got an energy about it. It's a hub where you'll find all types of regional cooking from across Turkey. You'll find all of it, all versions of it, from the places that just do one type of food. So they have like this very 100 years old stone wood-fired kind of oven, and they're just making pides, and they're like blow your mind amazing, but that's all they do all day long. There's people working in there who's been there for like 50 years, and I love that about it. But then you can also go more and more these days to levels of fine dining and Michelin and interpretations of Turkish food, and then there's of course the street food and the late night snacks and the food, quite frankly, all throughout the day. And so actually with the location that we're at here in the city, we wanted somewhere that was a little bit of something for everyone.
Head chef Halil shares Celine's wonder for Istanbul's food culture. While he was brought up in Astana, a place he calls a proper kebab city in Turkey's south, he then spent 12 years in Istanbul, a city which opened his eyes to what Turkish food could be.
It was a shock for me because in Istanbul I found everything. Still they have the oldest bakery, they have still oldest dessert shop, or 1 meter kebab place from the 100 years. I can't explain. I need to feel it. It's a little bit different than the other cities, I think. Istanbul is like a more cultural, historical, but also very like a heart pumping, it's like, you need to feel it actually. There's a say in Turkish, you need to listen to Istanbul to understand. Always like this.
Both Celine and Halil are keen to emphasise the rich history of Istanbul and the culinary traditions that have been kept alive in the city for hundreds of years. I wonder whether, with such history and tradition, comes too a sense of responsibility.
I think when you're talking about food, authentic or traditional can actually be quite a tricky word. I always approach it in a sense that the food that we're creating needs to be just as delicious as the guy who's been making it and cooking it for 50 years, or if possible even a little bit better. Can you, use finer ingredients and very slightly elevate it in some kind of way? We have on the menu Adana kebab. I have, maybe not my whole life, but let's say the last 5 years of my life, I've quite religiously watched I don't know how many videos and seen in real life how they make Adana kebab, which I think anyone with Turkish food is quite familiar with. It's basically köfte on this flat skewer with a little bit of red pepper running through it that you can find in lots of places. But actually in the traditional sense, it's hand chopped with just the right amount of meat and fat ratio and cut in just the right way. So the meat is not tough and it's soft and it kind of all falls apart. They say in Turkish it should separate like bulgur wheat when you eat it. My philosophy is if you're going to do it, then do it properly, otherwise it doesn't go on the menu.
While Leydi's attention to detail and plush interiors are clearly a cut above the rest, London's appreciation for Turkish food is nothing new. And it's an appreciation that's growing and maturing beyond the classic kebab house.
I wanted to showcase that although, just as you said, there's those wonderful places like that tend to be on the suburbs of London, those kebab shops, I was like, there is more to Turkish food than that. So it's not represented so well in central London, Turkish food. And I don't know, maybe it's the more trips I've taken to Istanbul and the older I've got, I have this deep appreciation for, if we go back to like that Adana kebab or a really good pide or the breads in general, or the way that the mezes are made. Like, Turkish food is actually very labor intensive. It's There's a lot of detail that goes into it.
And what's the hardest thing to prep? What is the thing on the menu that a lot of work goes into?
Everything. Yeah, and so when you eat the hummus, you're thinking is that there's a hummus, right? Chickpea puree, some tahini, but it takes 2 days minimum, and then every day you need to make fresh. Otherwise, it's becoming different taste. And then doner, you need to spend 4 days, 3 days to make one doner kebab. It's not simple.
And all the breads and pastries, do you make them here as well, or do you have a different? Yeah, wow.
Yeah, sourdough bread, 2 days minimum. Salmon bread. Actually, the rolling the salmon bread, shaping the salmon bread is the hardest part. The way they're making. And the tırnak pide you need to make à la minute when you receive the order. And then the lavash bread, you need to make every service fresh one.
It's fair to say that Hello at a number of occasions has sort of looked at me like, do we have to have that on the menu? It's quite a lot of work. I'm like, it'll be worth it. I promise it's going to be worth it.
With my appetite well and truly wet, it was time to potter over to the kitchen and see what it's like in amongst the action.
Come on in. So we can go around this way.
Okay,
So past section over here. Here we're standing in front of the grill. So we had this bespoke grill made just so it's like the perfect kind of distance from charcoal to cooking the meat. So this is another level of sort of the detail that we needed in order to achieve the style of kebabs and stuff that we want to do. And then over here we've got our stone oven. So here we make a lot of our flatbreads and also lahmacun. So it's quite a busy section as lahmacun are very well loved. And then,
oh my god, that smells amazing. Just the chog, oh my gosh.
Can't beat it.
And what's being prepped here?
It's a dish called imam bayıldı, which means the imam fainted, and so stuffed aubergine dish. As a very old kind of Ottoman style recipe. The story is that the imam had it from the chef and fainted because it was so good. So.
Down a flight of stairs, another highly organised and highly important part of Leydi's watertight kitchen operations.
And then over here is our pastry section. So it's a little quiet at the moment, but it's used more for service over here. Freshly churned ice creams, kunefes, katmers, all sorts of things are made here. As well as like börek for the morning, for the service menu. So yeah.
All I can focus on is the smell of the bread.
Yeah, fresh bread going on.
As I left Leydi that day, it wasn't only fresh bread on my mind. Just as I turned to leave, Chef Halil handed me a warm sample of Leydi's kurabiye, a pistachio tahini shortbread that I'll never forget. For Monocle in London, still thinking about that pistachio biscuit, I'm Paige Reynolds.
Thanks, Paige. This is the menu. Now it's time for the week's top food and drink headlines. Here is Monocle's Monica Lillis.
Egg prices hit a record high in the US in January as the nation contends with an ongoing bird flu outbreak. The latest inflation figures from the Department of Labour showed the average price of a dozen grade A eggs reached $4.95 last month, eclipsing the previous record of $4.82 set 2 years earlier. In some areas, prices of a carton can cost up to $10, with specialty eggs valued at even higher. A restaurant in London has become the first vegan eatery in the United Kingdom to be awarded a Michelin star. Plates London, located in the city centre, serves a fully plant-based menu and wowed judges with its inventive adaptations of classic techniques. Plates was one of 26 restaurants to receive an accolade at the annual Michelin Guide Great Britain and Ireland ceremony earlier this week. And finally, the third edition of St. Moritz Cocktail Week is taking place this weekend, with a variety of events across the Alpine town. The theme this year is a work of art, where bartenders are invited to create a signature cocktail inspired by a preferred artwork to tell a story and evoke emotions through colours, ingredients and flavours. The winner of the Best Cocktail Award will be announced on Sunday. Those are the week's food and drink headlines. Now, back to Chiara.
Thanks, Monica. You're listening to The Menu. Few spirits have the power to evoke another era and its vices quite as much as absinthe. Nicknamed the Green Fairy, the anise-flavoured liqueur was the staple drink of Paris's Belle Époque, so beloved that 5 p.m. was dubbed Green Hour, a precursor to the happy hour of today. Its potent, almost mind-bending effects are renowned and fueled plenty of lore in arts and literature at the time, but this spirit became so associated with this period that it almost got trapped in it and progressively got stuck on the shelf. But the spirit has seen a renaissance in recent years, rapidly gaining popularity in bars across the globe. Earlier, Monocle's Maisie Ringer headed to the Absinthe Parlour in East London to find out more.
Sensationalised in films, literature and art, absinthe is a drink shrouded in mystery and misconception, believed to trigger everything from genius to madness. A narrative kept alive by portrayals in films like the Moulin Rouge.
I was to audition for Satine, and I would taste my first glass of absinthe.
I am the Green Fairy. Once banned in countries around the world, today absinthe is being rediscovered, finding its way into bars and onto cocktail menus. I met with Alison Crawbuck and Rhys Everett, who run the Absinthe Parlour in East London, to learn more about what the spirit actually is.
It is one of the most widely misunderstood spirits, and we get asked questions about it every day. So absinthe is a botanical spirit. It's made in a similar way to gin, so starting out with a neutral spirit that's then redistilled with botanicals. If you were to make a traditional absinthe, you need to start with what's known as the Holy Trinity of botanicals, so that's green anise, fennel seed, and grand wormwood. And then from there, each distiller can use their own blend of botanicals to create a unique flavour profile.
Rhys and Alison say that customers arriving at their bar are often sceptical about the spirit.
Some of the main questions we get, is absinthe banned or is absinthe illegal? Which we can safely say it's not. It was never banned in the UK, but it was banned across France, Germany, Switzerland, the Netherlands, the States and other places. And another thing that people always ask, is it a hallucinogen? Can it make you hallucinate? And the answer again to that is no, it cannot. There is a chemical compound found in ground wormwood, which is called thujone, and people are worried that that could cause hallucinations or believed it caused hallucinations, and that is not true.
So where do these misconceptions stem from? Whilst absinthe was blamed for causing psychosis and even murder, leading to bans in the US and across much of Europe, modern research has debunked claims of the spirit's mind-altering qualities. Figures such as Oscar Wilde, Charles Baudelaire and Pablo Picasso were among the spirit's noted admirers. So why do these myths still persist centuries later? I asked Alison and Rhys whether these cultural hangovers continue to put people off the infamous elixir.
We're very much in an absinthe revival at the moment, and we can see from the bar the amount of people that are interested in absinthe now. Around about 20 to 30 years ago, in the 90s, there was a kind of a mini revival, and a lot of the absinthes during that time were actually promoting absinthe in the wrong way, and they were kind of highlighting that it possibly could be hallucinogenic, and they were promoting high thujone content, or there was the cannabis absinthe available. It was all about very high proof, artificially coloured, artificially flavoured versions that were being called absinthe, but they were being promoted to set on fire, to have as shots. So I think the marketing around in the 90s and some of the films and the way it was portrayed in the 90s really damaged the reputation further. Modern day today, I think the craft movement has helped us a lot to kind of showcase small producers that are making natural products.
9 years ago, when we first started selling absinthe, people would come through the door and be quite apprehensive. They didn't want to try it. They were fearful. They remembered the myths. They remembered the kryptonite green stuff they tried in the 90s, and they didn't want to relive that experience. Today, 90% of our customers that come through the door will have come here specifically looking for absinthe because they've tried it before. They're excited about it. They want to know more. So within the span of 9 years, we could see a very distinct growth in the awareness amongst our customers and the excitement amongst them as well.
This growth and excitement is reflected in the significant rise in absinthe sales worldwide, with bars and distilleries reporting annual growth of 40 to 50%. Global sales are projected to reach 35 million by 2026. I'm sat in front of the ritual paraphernalia favoured by absinthe drinkers of the Belle Epoque. It's time to try the Green Fairy.
Line up your glass under the spout of the fountain.
Okay.
And then you're going to turn on the water so that it slowly drips over the sugar cube, through the spoon, and into the glass. And so, yeah, this is a ritual that they've been doing for over 100 years. And then as the water mixes with the absinthe, you'll start to see clouds of the essential oils swirling in the glass.
And then what we always recommend, as soon as the absinthe is no longer clear and it's gone completely cloudy, that would be where we can stop the water from dripping into the glass. Take our very helpful absinthe spoon, give it a little stir, and then we can have our first sip here. Have a taste. You're going to get a huge hit of anise and fennel and wormwood, and then you're going to get all these supporting flavours coming beyond it.
Okay.
This absinthe that we're drinking is bottled at 63%. So we have diluted it down. Probably at the moment, I would say we're at about 2 parts. Mm-hmm. It is meant to be sipped and to be enjoyed.
Okay, right. Well,
cheers.
Cheers. Here we are.
Yeah, an explosion of flavour. Just
oh my gosh, I so wasn't expecting that. Oh, it's delicious.
Oh.
Thank you. Yeah. The absinthe that you're drinking now includes the spices that Rhys mentioned, like cinnamon, nutmeg, galangal root, all of these very warm spices.
Emboldened by my absinthe tasting, we headed down the road to Devil's Botany Distillery, the only absinthe distillery in the UK. The distillery itself produces innovative takes on the spirit, including clear London absinthe, emerald absinthe regalis, and a chocolate absinthe liqueur. Rhys and Alison say the absinthe market is being pushed by customer demand.
In terms of the consumers of the market, America is the largest absinthe market at the moment. Germany is probably second. Then I would say the UK is getting into the top 3, along with places like Australia is very popular, and Japan. But the UK is definitely starting to catch up with the likes of America and Germany as the biggest consumers of absinthe.
And as Rhys was saying, the US, there is a big absinthe boom, but the UK is right behind that. The general public are leading that. There's been a demand from the customers for more places to drink absinthe and different brands to try, and that is pushing the bars to look into it more and to put together new offerings, have it in cocktails, and because all of the other absinthes that are available are predominantly made in France and in Switzerland.
And what would maybe be the difference between a French absinthe, say, and let's say this one here?
This one you point to is the London absinthe. It's very much a new style of absinthe, so you won't find this style anywhere else in the world. In France, the way they would I suppose judge an absinthe will be on its louche. So when that the water is added and the cloudiness appears, that would mean it's a very good absinthe. For us, a very good absinthe isn't just about the kind of the transition from it being clear to cloudy, but the flavour profile and how you can kind of enhance the flavours of the green anise, the fennel seed, and how to pair those main kind of strong flavours with supporting botanicals.
For Monocle in London, I'm Maisie Ringer.
Thanks, Maisie. And that's all for this edition of The Menu. Remember that we are back with a new episode again on Friday at 2000 London time. That's a midday in San Francisco. Also, don't forget to tune into our spin-off show, Food Neighbourhoods, for a tour of some of the world's tastiest destinations. I am Chiara Rimella. This programme was produced by Monica Lillis, and our sound engineers were Flynn Simons and Steph Chungu. Thanks for listening, and until next week.